Rhoda Grant's not going to join us. Rhoda is MSP for the Scottish Parliament for the Scottish Labour, and has been since 1999 to 2003, and then again in 2007 to the present day. Rhoda has also worked for the trade union Unison, and holds a degree in social sciences from Open University. She also addressed our meeting in 2013, so we're pleased to have her back. Rhoda.
Thank you for inviting me to take part in your panel, and as other speakers have said, it was no small task to talk about Brexit, independence and workers' rights in 12 minutes. I think we could have spent 12 minutes on each of them quite easily. Some of us did. I'll try not to. But I think we're all getting pretty sick of Brexit. I think people are just fed up. But there's a danger in that, and I'll come to that shortly. We're in this situation because of the Tory party. They couldn't agree on the European Union, and here we are. They still don't agree, but instead of them just fighting amongst themselves, they're tearing the rest of us apart too. And we in the Labour Party respect the outcome of the referendum, because you can't ask the people a question and then ignore what they say. However, we don't respect the government's handling of this. I think they've handled it pretty poorly. I think if I was in their shoes, faced with this decision, I would be looking for a government of national unity to bring together all sides to try and get the very best for our nation. And in the Labour Party we've set out the 6 tests to make sure that whatever deal is struck is not detrimental. And the Chequers deal doesn't meet them, neither does the withdrawal agreement, neither does the transitional arrangements, and neither does the subsequent political declaration. The deal doesn't protect jobs, it doesn't protect workplace rights, it doesn't protect environmental standards, which you've heard, and it won't ensure a frictionless trade for the UK businesses to the other parts of the EU, so it damages our future relationship. And it doesn't, Labour has called for a closer relationship with the EU. It rules out a permanent customs union, where we would have a say in the regulations of that, and I think that's quite important. And that's vital for our businesses, jobs and manufacturing. It doesn't deliver on a good deal on services, and it would limit the access of British business to EU markets, and we've seen some of that happening even in the interim arrangements for fishing. It would allow future Tory governments to erode workers' rights and consumer protections and environmental standards. It gives no guarantee that the UK will have equivalent arrangements in EU programmes and agencies, and it would lead to a weakening of our current security, because there's no guarantee that UK will remain part of the EU arrangements for security as well. So there is no long-term credible solution in any of those. If we can't find a solution for the border in Northern Ireland, then the backstop is implemented, and nobody is coming up with a solution that serves the purpose of Northern Ireland and keeping that as part of the UK, but also allowing it to have the free trade it enjoys with the south of Ireland. So therefore, the agreement that's in front of us is frankly a failure. 2 years of negotiation, and this is where we are. We don't accept that it's a choice between Theresa May's deal and no deal. There has to be a better deal, and we want to vote down this deal and work across the Parliament to do that. Once it's voted down, we have been consistently saying that we would want an election, we would want, as the Labour Party, the chance to negotiate a better deal. And we've set out very clearly what that deal should be, because we need that for our economy, a deal that would safeguard jobs, rights and standards, and bring power and investment back to our nations. We would also want a new comprehensive union with the EU, a customs union, but one that we have rights in, that we could have discussions in and have a say in some of that. We want a strong single market, that business can continue, and a guarantee that our country won't fall behind on workers' rights and the protections we talked about for consumers. We don't want to see a race to the bottom on standards, which I think other speakers spoke about. If we're having trade agreements with other countries, for example the United States, I think you'll all be aware of the TTIP negotiations that have been going on with the EU and America, and some of the real concerns that were expressed in that about how that would change our country and our regulations, and the chicken and the like are always the watchword. So we have to fight to protect workers' rights, and that has to be part of a negotiation for a trade deal, because we have to be careful about quality and standards to make sure that future trade agreements will keep them in place, because we don't want our industries undercut by future trade agreements with lower standards and less rigorous checks. And we are keeping every option on the table. Our preferred option is the chance, obviously, to conclude a better deal. But if that doesn't happen, we will look at every option available, including taking the deal back to the people. You asked me to speak about independence as well, and I'm not 100% sure why this is still on the agenda, because if we look at Brexit, everything that's happening with Brexit tells us that going independent would be an even bigger disaster. If leaving the EU is hard, you can only imagine how much harder even the UK would be. In both referenda, we told the people they were being sold Project Fear in order to undermine the arguments to remain in the EU and the UK. And the people I know who voted leave in the EU referendum, given their time again, would wish to remain inside, because they believe the argument. This is just Project Fear. It didn't come to be. Now they're saying that it has come to be. So those arguments weren't really Project Fear, they were Project Reality, but nobody really believed them. And that says something actually about our politics, that we can say things, and indeed some of the arguments used by others to undermine and sell their argument. We need honesty in our politics so people can at least realise what we're saying. And I suppose if we're looking at a bit of honesty in politics, the SNP have come forward with a Sustainable Growth Commission to talk about independence. And that's said that we'd be in an indefinite currency union with the UK. We would hand over the levers of power to the Bank of England. It talks about tax breaks to build the economy, and it talks about having another 5 to 10 years of austerity to break even. And I think that is really not what we want. If Brexit has shown us anything, it's shown us the difficulty of breaking a 40-year economic union. Imagine trying to do that with a social and economic and political union that lasted 300 years. And Scottish businesses do 4 times as much trade with the rest of the EU, with the UK, than they do with the rest of the EU. So I think we really need to be very careful about what we do, and if anything, I think Brexit is a warning on the on independence, because it's remarkably similar. I spoke earlier about the boredom danger, and I think we are all getting pretty hacked off with the negotiations, and it's been in the news for months and months and months. But I think the Tories are playing on that, because they're saying more uncertainty versus the deal, more negotiations versus their deal, more time versus their deal, and it's almost like people will be begging for mercy rather than go into any other negotiation. They will go for the deal, and that's what the Tories are playing on. So we have to be very, very careful that we don't fall into that trap and say we are going to do that, because we owe it to our children and their children that we come out with the very best deal from Brexit that we can.
Thank you very much.